Welcome to another of my painting critique videos. In this video, I will be reviewing the paintings from my attendees of my July 2024 workshop, where we painted this sunny clifftop scene. In this video, I'll be offering constructive feedback on each of your paintings, those that I've had. My critiques are based on my own perspective. I'll be highlighting the aspects I admire most about each piece. I'll suggest a small tweak or improvement just to help refine your skills even further. Remember, we're here to all learn and grow together. Now, bear in mind, as we see the attendees' paintings one by one, the colour and lighting in the photo may not be exactly correct because everyone has got different cameras and devices for taking photos of their paintings. Now, for these workshops, you don't have to paint in my style. It's really interesting to see everyone's interpretation of the same scene. The workshops are open to painters of all levels, beginners and advanced. Everyone is welcome. If you want to take part in future workshops, you can see all of my events on my event system platform, which is crowdcast.io/@Tim Wilmot. There you'll see this workshop, which you can still do, and all the previous ones, loads over the years that I've done. Various different scenes, landscapes, seascapes, and urban scenes. They're all there up on that event platform. Right, back to July workshop where we painted the scene. This is Cornwall, a sunny scene. This is the coastal path that runs along the coast of Somerset, Devon and Cornwall, the UK. And what I'll be looking for in the critiques is, first of all, composition and any small tweaks that people might have done. Various watercolor techniques, for example, the flat wash of the sky, then various shapes of the rocks at low tide on the right-hand side. I'll be looking at values, look at the darkness of the shadow below the house, the lightness of the pathway there, some of the lights on the rocks at low tide as well, so values, a good range of values. Perspective with that fence on that left-hand side there, and indeed the little pathway there leading into the distance, the perspective of that. And the inclusion of figures to add some extra interest to the scene. We've got figures walking towards us, and there's various figures down on the beach. So I'm going to go through my painting first of all, then we'll go through the attendee paintings one by one. And as I say, I'll spend about a minute or two just giving my 2 cents worth of thoughts on the positives and maybe, some of the things that maybe could be improved, in my opinion, on each of those scenes. Fairly happy with my effort. I think the composition is sort of okay. I made some larger figures on there on the left-hand side. Perhaps the perspective, I could have emphasized the perspective of the fencing a little bit more, a little bit taller, the fence nearest, then receding into the distance. Quite happy with the figures and the way that I created those various marks and shapes on the beach and the low tide, trying to depict those sort of slatish type rocks and little slithers of sand and rock pools here and there. Position of the house there, that iconic house on the cliff top with the left-hand side catching light. And then the way, I think the wash turned out okay, a little bit of yellow ochre on the horizon there, but a deeper blue on that right-hand side. Some dramatic shadows on the left-hand side coming from the hedgerows on the left. Yeah, fairly happy with it. So let's go through the attendee pages then one by one. And we'll go through in alphabetical order. So first up, Adele. Nice composition, very nice sky, lovely sky that you've done there. A little bit of variation in the intensity of the blues. I think that works well, breaks up the monotony of that sky. With the perspective of the fence, that turned out really well. I love the colour on the wood, really looks sort of weathered, that kind of greyish colour. With the figures on the beach okay, but maybe the figures on the left-hand side, their legs are a little bit too long, I think, for their bodies, so just watch that. And also with the shadows, maybe with the shadows, try and angle them as they come down a bit like that with the perspective. But a beautiful scene. That beach turned out really well. Love those shapes and marks. Well done. Right, next up is Amy. Right, Amy's gone for a slightly lighter touch this. I think the composition has turned out really well. The sky, fantastic. You've laid that wash down really well. With the values, could have gone a little bit darker with the values and got some crisper edges to some of those darker shapes as well. So don't work at some of these areas too much. Try and keep it nice and fresh. Figures, nice placement of figures, but I think the heads are a little bit too large, especially the figure on the right hand side. So just watch your figures. I love that dog. That's a superb dog. Perspective of the fence, little bit like me. Just watch that. Try and make it taller, a little bit taller, nearest to us. But it looks like we're looking down on the scene, you see, which is a common mistake. But a lovely scene, and beautiful sky. Well done, Amy. And Andrew. Yeah, so quite dark, or that might be your photo. It's quite dark. Lovely composition, though. Nice placement of the house. Perhaps the house could be a little bit lighter on that left-hand side, a little bit shadier on the wall facing us. The wash of the sky, brilliant. Love the sea. Could be, again, a little bit lighter in some of the areas of the beach, just a little bit lighter. Figures, the placement of figures, just a little bit too far there on the left. I think if that was, that whole lane there was just moved a little bit to the right, Andrew, that would work better. Lovely greens though, beautiful green there. Not sort of too vibrant, just the right sort of green for the cliffside there. And you've got that little bit of a shadow in there on that left-hand side. Yeah, a lovely bright scene. Well done. Thanks, Andrew. And Anna. Well, I'm immediately looking at that fantastic sky. That sky is gorgeous. Yeah, very nice indeed. Good composition, nice placement, everything. Those figures are superb. You've gone with a little bit of a sort of shorter fence, shorter and lower. And that actually works because you don't need to think too much with a taller fence. You need to think a little bit more about composition, don't you? The marks on the beach, absolutely brilliant, Anna. Very nice indeed. Very lovely brush marks, beautiful. Figures are very good indeed. They're excellent figures. A little bit of highlighting on the left-hand side as well. Nice dramatic shadows. Very fresh application of the colour for the hedgerows. Could have gone a little bit darker, maybe for the building there. And also the colour, the value of the roof is the same as the wall, maybe a little bit darker on the wall facing us. But a lovely painting and nicely framed as well. Thanks very much, Anna. And Anthony. Nice composition. Now, with the composition, you've got the house right in the middle, which I guess could work because we've got balance on the left-hand side, some figures. So you've got a little bit more of the hedgerow on the left compared to the source photo. So I think that sort of works. But it might be a little bit better if the house was just to the right of centre or the left of centre, if you see what I mean, Anthony. Apart from that, nice composition. Just be careful of just a slight overworking of those darker areas there. Try and keep it nice and fresh. The figures are brilliant. Nice proportion to those figures as well. Sky is brilliant. Could have gone a little bit darker on that top right corner there. And just watch that transition from the blue to the yellow. Got a little bit of a stain going across there. Try and do it all in one. I reckon you might have just hesitated or stopped maybe temporarily doing the blue or doing the yellow first, and then you get those nasty lines. Happens to me all the time. A lovely scene though. I think that beach turned out really well. Nice figures on the beach and the perspective. Yeah, perspective. Okay. Again, I suspect many of us, the height of the height of the fence there could be a little bit taller nearest to us. Love the texture of the pathway there. Yeah, well done, Anthony. Thanks very much indeed. And Barb. Right, nice composition. I love the dry brush marks that are very evident on the beach there. Nice and fresh. Good contrast there between the dark, nice sort of hard edge contrast between the dark of the cliffside and the lightness of the hedgerow. Very good figures. Little doggy. Perspective, I think, is pretty much there. Yeah, very nice job on the perspective. I like the way that you've done these little grasses here growing out from the back. Perhaps the horizon could be just a little bit more level, maybe just a tiny bit. And these little areas here where the sea is sort of bleeding the sky, I don't actually mind that, but I just think if that was just a little bit of a more of a horizontal line, that would be better. Nice sky, perfect building, lovely effect of the foliage of the hedgerows. Yeah, but particularly like these dry brush marks. Well done. And I know Barb's using some fantastic Indian handmade paper. They're lovely. Right, Betty. So we can see here our first small tweak on the composition. We've got a couple of boats there out to sea, which of course we would do. Quite a busy area for traffic on the sea there, coming down the English Channel, going up the English Channel. The Bristol Channel. Good figures, yeah, lovely figures there. You've gone for a slightly different effect for the beach. I think that works quite well. Maybe you haven't got the height of the building over the cliffs there, but the way that you've got the beach there, I think it's worked well. Great figures, lots of dog walkers, a very popular area for dog walkers. The perspective has turned out really well, Betty, as well. I think your photo is a little bit dark. I bet it's a lot lighter on that left-hand side. Looks like your photo is a little bit dark there on that left. What a super scene. Yeah, well done, Betty. And Bob. Oh, I like this. The perspective is brilliant. I like the line. I like this line. The perspective of that fence is perfect, but that line that's going around there, very nice. You've changed the building as well. I think that works equally well. I love that bit of a triangular, that light area there. Seabirds in the sky. The kind of mosaic of different colours of shadows and shapes on the cliffside there. That little bit of triangular light. We're kind of replicating those diagonal lines, the lines of the rooftop there, that line there, that shadow. Again, more shadows on the cliffside. The figures are brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I like the texture that you got into the pathway as well, kept it nice and light. And the frequency of those lines, that just kind of helps the perspective and the sense of depth going to the distance. Yeah, a nice reinterpreted scene, and it's worked so well. Fantastic, Bob. Thanks very much indeed. And Buck, that's another completely different composition. Here, the viewer is lower, I guess, sort of crouched down, looking at the scene. That's a perfect balance in the composition. Those two figures. Let's just zoom in on those two figures. The pose of those two figures, brilliant. Obviously, it's a walking area, so we've got a bit of a rucksack, backpack with the guy, and then the angle of that dog looking at the owner. Really nice. The placement of the house, the actual way that you've created the texture of those rocks on the beach, the angle, that angle there, and then that strong horizontal here, perfect wash in the sky. Yeah, and the little bit of texture, we can see a bit of splattering going on here. Lots of different watercolor techniques, dry brush marks with the blades of the grasses on that bank. Nice green as well. Yeah, very nice. Well done, Buck. And Kathy. It's got nice loose feeling to this. I like the way that you've tucked everything over there on that left-hand side. We've got more of the sea here, and a little bit of, a sea is a big part of the whole area, and that North Cornish coast and the Atlantic rollers coming in. We can see a little bit of surf there breaking over the rocks out to sea, and then the way that you've got the way that you've depicted the beach with all of those different brush marks, lights and darks, placement of the building, the figures, with the perspective, nearly there. I think with the fence there, could be a little bit taller on this right hand side. Very loose way in depicting the figures. Lovely dramatic shadows as well coming down. You've just done it once. Those shadows there on that left-hand side, you've done it once and just left it. Connecting the shadows with the figures as well is always a good idea. Yeah, super scene. Maybe a little bit untidy with the way that you've applied the watercolor on that right-hand side. If this was taped down, just go over the edges with that wash so that we don't get these little sort of blemishes on the right-hand side. But it doesn't detract from a lovely painting. Well done, Kathy. And Ching. Nice composition, a lovely bright scene. The balance of everything is working really well. Lovely sky. Perhaps the horizon there, the skyline could be just a little bit straighter. Nice colour of the water, beautiful texture on that beach. I like the way that you've depicted those kind of cracks and fissures in the slate bedrock there on the beach. Nice green, good figures. Let's look at the figures. Nice figures, connecting the shadows with the figures. Good angle of those shadows as well. Yeah, well done, Ching. Lovely scene. Nice greens as well. Beautiful. Next up is going to be Chris. Nice bright scene. Now I do like the way that you've done the sky, Chris, and maybe there was a little bit of a lean on your board. I reckon these kind of, let me zoom in, those marks that you've got there, that kind of dark blue, then a bit of a lighter blue, then the transition into, which is the transition into the yellow or yellow ochre. And that's C, again, 3 different values. We've got in the distance, we've got that blue, and then we go a little bit darker, maybe the shadow over the sea or some rocks below the water surface, and then that sort of cobalt turquoise green as we come into the beach. That beach come out really well. Maybe the shadow of the cliffs, I'd make that a little bit more solid, so there's less of those lighter marks. Figures are brilliant. Fantastic figures. Yeah, got a sense of movement there with those. Perspective of the fence, yet nearly there. Perhaps could be just a little bit, tiny bit taller there. Beautiful scene. I do like that sky though. That sky and a little bit of sort of reflected light on that building. But nice and light on the left-hand side. Yeah, the sky and the water. Yeah, well done. Well done, Chris. Let's just go to the next one. Christy. Nice composition. Maybe the figures on the left-hand side, we could have just, I'm not sure if it's been cut off on the left-hand side, but maybe that lane was just a little bit more to the right. This is actually sort of more of a line and wash study of the scene. Works really well. So putting aside the placement of the figures in the lane, everything else is perfect, beautiful. I like the way that you've done that beach. You've captured, even in liner wash. I think it's a little bit more difficult with liner wash doing all those kind of rocky shapes, but this has come out really well. I like also the light that you've captured, that diagonal light that you've captured there and there, the greenery coming down from the top of the cliff, and then we're hitting that rocky stuff. The figures are brilliant. They're very good actually on the left-hand side. They've got a sense of movement about them. I can't zoom in anymore, but hopefully you can make that out. Those figures there on the left, really good movement with them. Nice shadows, nice shadow colour as well. The perspective is brilliant. It's spot on. You've got the height there of that fence, and with your pen, with your ink, you've captured the kind of that old weathered feeling to the rock, the wood there. Beautiful. Nice expressive brush marks in the foreground. Well done, Christy. Colin. Bold, bright. I bet the actual painting is a lot brighter than this photo. I think your photo might be a little bit dark, but I bet it's even brighter than this. That sky is perfect. Nice composition, good figures, very nice figures, especially that right-hand one there. Doggy, very good job on the beach there. Perhaps we could go a little bit more horizontal with some of the shapes going further out. So we've got that line there. Maybe we could go out just a little bit more like that as a suggestion, Colin. That sea is perfect. The sky, brilliant. Nice dramatic shadows on the left-hand side. Perspective of the fence, I think, is pretty much there. Well done, Colin. Thank you. Next one up is Dina. Hopefully I pronounced your name okay, Dina. And we've actually got here, it's like we're stepping back a little bit more. We've got more of the panoramic view of the scene. The lane and the house there, tucked over there on that left-hand side. We've got more of the sea. So nice composition, nice strong horizontal there as well with the light hitting the tops of the cliff. The sky is good, just think there's a little bit of a sharp transition between the blue and the yellow there. Again, as one or two others have experienced that kind of transition. You've got to work quite fast with a sky where you've got that a blue transitioning into a yellow. But apart from that, that sky is fantastic. Bit of feeling of high altitude, fair weather clouds. Nice way that you've done the beach as well. Good figures on the beach. Lovely bit of grassy stuff on the left-hand side. Bit of splattering as well. And good direction of those splatter marks. They've got a direction from the sort of bottom left up to the top right. Really great figures there on the left. Maybe adult and child and doggy. Perspective of that fence, that is perfect. Nice, strong post nearest to us. Well done, Dina. And Gordon. Oh, another different composition again. This guy looks like a cyclist that he's got his helmet on there and he's just rested his bike somewhere. There are a few bicycles or mountain bikes going up and down the path there. Very appropriate. So you haven't got the sea in. Maybe if we had just a little bit of the sea, we'd have more of a context of the area. But the way that you've got the rocks in there is beautiful. Could have a little bit more light on that left-hand side there so that we've got a bit more of a contrast between the light of the bank and the cliff. Just be careful of a little bit of overworking or a little bit too much detail and working to that. The fence has come out really well, very strong. The feeling of the timbers as well, brilliant. That figure leaning in, looking into the scene. A couple of figures down below on the beach. Sky is brilliant, very, very nice indeed. Good transition from the blue to the yellow. Yeah, excellent scene. Well done, Gordon. Gwen. Let's just zoom into this one. Really nice and loose. I'm not sure what size of it. It's a small photo, it's a small size painting, but it's beautiful. The way that you've done the sky, the sea, brilliant. The composition, very good indeed. I think it's probably similar to my layout, my composition. Nice strong lines coming out from the cliffside with those angles there. Nice green, nice sort of light green for the grasses. Good figures. Yeah, very nice. Well done, Gwen. And Hans, good composition. I like the birds in the sky. Always a good way of filling in an open space like that. The sky's fantastic. The good strong horizontal horizon there. The skyline, a little bit of softness there as well. I don't mind that. Nice granulation of the sea. I like the light patch of the sand there. There could be perhaps just a few more harder edge shapes coming out to the right hand side, just to add a little bit of variety to that right hand side. Very good figures. Really like that. That's a superb figure. The flesh color, the blue, the actual connection there, the blue with the red of the child. Very good. Perspective. Perhaps that post there needs to be a little bit taller, a bit more feeling of a perspective, but I do like that strong, straight horizontal edge there. Very nice indeed. And the way that the colour of those rocks, the nice shapes, the nice sort of angular shapes. Well done, Hans. Nice one. I do like the inclusion of the birds though. Isabel. Very bright, very bold. Nice composition. You've got a strong contrast there right at the end of the lane. The hedgerow with the shadow of the cliff. The nice cool shadows of the cliff. Good shapes of the rocks coming out onto the beach. Good, nice way of portraying the slate as well. These figures are brilliant. The movement there. Someone clambering over the rocks, carrying a bag. This guy pulling the cart. I know a number of you have included that one, the cart pulling figure. And then those two walking down towards us. Brilliant. Like the foliage there on the left-hand side, Isabel. Brilliant. The shadow shapes and directional shadows. Good job on the perspective. And that little bit of darkness down here coming out from that right-hand post. Very nice indeed. And nice. You've got a massive impact of sunlight in this scene. Well done. Nice sea as well. And this is Jean. It's quite a sort of warm feeling to this. I like the way that you've done the beach, Jean. That's come out really well with the combination of the sandy areas and the rocks. So the composition is good. Good balance to it all. The perspective, yeah, pretty good with the fence. The figures, I think they might be just a little bit overworked, just a tiny bit overworked. They could be like there's a bit of sort of out of focus edge to particularly that right-hand figure. I think if they were a little bit stronger or had harder edges, that might them have a little bit more impact. Good job with the hedgerow on the left. Like a few others, we've got a bit of a hard line there. It's quite tricky to do. The blue is beautiful though, the way that you've got that. It's a bit like Collins, I think, earlier on. That kind of flow. There might have been a little bit of an angle on your board, I guess. Yes, so there's just a little bit of a hard edge there as regards the techniques for laying down that yellow. There's a line there and then there's sort of sharp line there. All right, so it's a tricky thing to do, that blue into yellow, trying to get that transition. And of course not making it turn green in the middle, which hasn't happened with you, but you've laid down a really nice sky at the top there. Lovely rocks. Nice texture on the pathway. Well done, Jean. And we have, I think, yeah, sorry, Joe. Let's look at my notes. Right, Joe. Good composition. Might be a bit of a slope here. Not sure if that was intentional, going down to the right. And I bet it's the angle of your photo. I reckon the angle of the photo is just a little bit out, but it's got a tiny bit of a slope with the sea there. Like the waves coming in, very appropriate. That edge there could have been a little bit of a harder edge, I reckon, on that where the shadow nips in behind the grassy bank. Great figures, very good figures, just the right proportion. Walking towards us. Good shadows as well. Perspective, very good. You've got a nice chunky post there as well. Could have a few harder edges on the rocks down there. Just a few harder edges, I reckon, Joe. But I actually quite like the shape there. You've got that sort of framing to the beach area where there's a couple of rock pools. Good job with the lane and those shadows. I like that dry brush mark. That is brilliant. That mark there. Well, all these marks here coming down to that bottom left-hand corner. Brilliant marks, that dry brush mark. Works really well when you've got just the right amount of paint on your brush and you hold the brush to a certain angle and you drag it over the paper quickly. Of course, you're leveraging the roughness of the paper as well. Lovely sky, bit untidy here on that left-hand side. Nice one, Joe. Thank you. John. Good composition. The skyline is going up just a tiny bit, but on the whole, very good. Lovely sky. Nice transition from the blue to the yellow. The building perhaps could be a little bit darker on this side. Good dark value for the cliffs. Texture of the rocks. Figures are brilliant. Let's have a zoom in on those figures on the left-hand side. Yeah, figures are good, especially that figure there in the chart. I'm not so sure about the legs on perhaps the legs could be a bit longer, or the torso is just a little bit too long of that left-hand figure, but good shadows on that left-hand side. Nice brush marks. I like the bit of granulation happening here. Yeah, super scene. Well done, John. Thank you. And yes, we've got a couple of joys. This is Joy H. So quite soft with this one. Nice composition. Certainly got the feeling of a bright day. Well done with the perspective in that you've got a distant figure. Looks like a walker. Let's zoom in. Looks like a walker. Definitely that backpack there. And then the nearest one to us. But the height of the heads, of course, all in line, being a fairly level pathway. The fence could be just a little bit wider, coming down towards us, or a little bit taller towards us. Good brush marks on the rock, could have a few harder edges in there. The cliffs, nice dark value there, just be careful, a little bit of overworking, just a tiny bit of overworking of that. The skyline, very good, that horizon there, brilliant, and then the sky as well. Sky, it's a very, you've actually got a lot of feeling of brightness here. We've got bright sky, overall bright foreground, bright beach. Perhaps there could be just a little bit of darkness in that top right corner, just a tiny bit. Do like the greens here, brilliant greens. Loose way that you've done the foreground, lovely. Yeah, well done, Joy. Joy H, and then Joy. And a different composition. I like the balance of this. The figures stand out so well. You've got to maybe you've got a different time of day. It's almost like it's dusk. It's sort of going towards the end of the day. But the standout to me is that figure there, very prominent figure. Then this kind of monument or something like that on the cliff tops there, the figure. But that triangle of light, plus then either side, the way that you've applied the paint, this patchwork of shapes connecting with each other, the green, the blue, green, red, purple, red, blue. Nice, you're exploiting the transparency of watercolor. Don't think that works too well down there, that light patch. That figure's okay, but I think with your figures, because they're dark, you probably wouldn't negatively paint around the edge of that figure. Just go that this value here is light enough. But the watercolor techniques on this, it's so fresh. Love the sky as well. You haven't gone for that light sky, blue and yellow. Granulation. It's granulation all over the place in this one. So good. Yeah, very nice indeed. Well done, Joy. Kazim. Nice bright scene. Very good composition. That horizon is perfect. Very strong. Good line. Sky is lovely. I like the brush marks that you've got here. The shadows on that left-hand side. That kind of direction of those shadows. And then these lines come here, and then that sort of almost like a curved feeling to some of the cracks in the rock or the clumps of seaweed there lying between the rocks. Excellent brush marks, very good figures. Let's zoom into the figures on the left. Very good figures there, bit of movement. Try and connect the shadows just a little bit, all right, with the figures, just a little bit more. Nice doggy. Perfect building, light on the left-hand side. Great figures on the beach there. Yeah, very, very nice indeed. A good fresh watercolor, but I do like those strong shapes, the shadows, and then these darker elements in the beach and the way that you've done the foliage in the foreground. Well done, Kazim. And we have Larry. Nice composition. I quite like that little bit of lightness there. I wonder whether that could be made into something. It's quite nice. I don't know what it is, but it works well in the sky. So, good sky. Perhaps a little bit unfortunate with this bloom here, that shape there. But on the whole, good sky. The cliffs, good. Not so sure about the use of the white paint there. Certainly across the top you could use white paint where maybe you just wanted to introduce a little bit more of a highlight on the top of that retaining wall there in front of the building, but not so sure that these squiggly marks work well in the cliff. The perspective nearly there. The building needs to, the fence needs to be a little bit higher in the foreground. Again, just ease off on the white paint. We don't really need it. Of course, with watercolor, you're working from light to dark, so just do a bit of negative painting around that fence if you can. That would give you a fresher look. Perspective-wise, these figures are a little bit low. It looks like we're looking down on the scene a little bit, Larry, I think, on this one. So I would have made those figures a little bit taller. Place them, if they were that size, place them a little bit higher, I think. Yeah, that will work a bit better. So we got that fence coming down a little bit like that. That's going to work a little bit better from a perspective point of view. The beach, that's come out really well. That earthy red colour. Love it. The figures there, they are brilliant figures, especially that left-hand one. Look at that. Looks like that figure's got a backpack, looking out to sea, companion there, looking the other way. Brilliant. They are really nice figures. Yeah, well done on the beach. Sea, fantastic as well. Well done, Larry. And Lillian. Strong, very, very strong horizontal line there. Love it. And so nice composition. Yes, nice strong horizontals along there and continue along with the horizon. The beach is superb, nice and loose. Dry brush mark there, very expressive. Then these shadows here, that sort of darker green, that's worked out well. Perspective of that fence, that's come out excellent. Could have a little bit of a shadow for the figures, maybe just a tiny little bit of a shadow. So that would go out that way, and then that one might come just a little bit more that way, and then shadow of the figure. Yeah, so look at your, just watch out for your shadow shapes and directions. But that's a beautiful scene. The sky is perfect. The transition from the almost like a lavender blue to that yellow, and these lines as well, almost going like that way. Very nice. A little bit of sparkling in the sea. A lovely water. I'm not so sure about the shadow in the bottom left corner here. I know it's in the photo, but not so sure it works there for me down there in that bottom left-hand corner. It could be maybe a little bit of a harder line as well. We've got these shadows coming this way, so it's a little bit difficult for the viewer to think what's causing that. Excellent. Yeah, well done, Lillian. Thank you. And Liliana. Nice bright scene. The composition has turned out well. I think the figures could be a little bit larger compared to the height of the fence, just a little bit larger, but the perspective has turned out well. Figures here on the beach could be a little bit smaller. We're looking down on them, they're a little bit further away. The placement of the building, brilliant, nice building, chimney, shadow. The shape of that yellow, I don't think that looks quite right. I probably wouldn't bother with that. Just go over with that lighter blue down to the horizon. Yeah, it's just a little bit. It sort of works in a way. It's sort of highlighting it's sort of framing the building, but it doesn't look very natural looking. The sky, the rest of the sky though, very good. That sea, let's zoom into the sea. That sea is lovely. That dark blue, leaving out little horizontal slithers of the paper that could be the waves coming in, and then that patchwork of rocks and seaweed and sand. Very nice indeed. Nice shadows on the left-hand side. Well done, Liliana. Very nice. And Linda. I think your photo might be just a little bit out of focus in that, it looks a bit weird. It looks like it's in focus on the right, then out of focus. Anyway, we can see what's going on. Beautiful watercolor, that lovely sky, good composition. Perspective is nearly there, I think, with that. Nice fence, could be just a little bit taller there. The figures they've got a good proportion about them, but they're a little bit sort of static, and I think they could be a little bit darker in the lady's legs, they're quite light. They're just a little bit darker than the pathway that's in the bright sun, but they're just a little bit too light, and then you've suddenly got the dark shadows. Try and connect them a little bit more. Gradual transition from a darker, they should be a little bit darker, and then those dark shadows as well. And also think about connecting those shadows. You've got the shadow of the legs, but then obviously we've got the body coming out, and then the head, and then excused by crude drawing, but you get the idea. We just got shadows of the two legs. We need to connect it a little bit and then run that shadow to the end. The good range of values. I like that bit of lightness coming down there, even though it's a bit out of focus. I can pretty much see what's going on here. Beautiful sea. That sky is fantastic. That is a really good sky, Linda. You've done well to control the blue to the yellow. Nice green. Yeah, so it's just those shadows on that left-hand side. I think they're all sort of going in a parallel direction. I think they would work better if, again, thinking about perspective, there might be a little bit more horizontal in the distance, but then as they're coming down to that bottom left-hand corner, they're angling different. They're going almost veering towards the vertical, all right? A bit like that as we progress down the pathway. Well done, Linda and Liz. Good composition. Lovely sky. I like that bit of lightness there, the right-hand side. Like a sort of very low cloud that's coming off the sea. Good composition, the good range of values. Perspective, I think, is nearly there. Just need to make the posts, those horizontal posts, come out a little bit more, a little bit wider towards us. Brilliant figures. Let's zoom in on those figures. Brilliant figures. They're excellent. With the hedge, I'm not sure if you could just have a little bit more of an untidier base to it, just to make it a bit more sort of rustic and rugged, rather than a sort of clipped hedge like that, just to make it a little bit more rugged. The way that you've done the beach is brilliant. That is very good. Perhaps there could be some darker values in there, just where that darker seaweed was, but very good figures as well. Just the right size for those figures on the beach. Yeah, well done. Thanks, Liz. And next one up is Lyle. Oh, it's really nice. Oh, you've got some distant land. Maybe it's South Wales over there. Maybe we could see South Wales on a... Oh, no, maybe not. It's a bit too far away. But I do like that. That's in a way, that's sort of filling in that right-hand side where you moved everything over to the left. The actual composition, the design of the shapes in the beach, this whole area here is superb. That you've got the perspective, brilliant. But concentrating on that beach, let me just go to my drawing lines. The concentrate on that beach, those shapes, the size of them, the angle of them, the edges. Look at that soft edge there, hard edge here. Little thin marks going down to that bottom right-hand corner. The variety of warms and cools, the variety of different colours in here. Love it. The rocks there in the distance. And then the sandy areas, the darker seaweed. That blue on this fence post here nearest to us, that works well. Figures could be, they're a little bit soft. I'm not sure if you've been lifting those out, but I think if they were like this sort of value here, a little bit darker, especially that one on the right. Although I suppose being a little bit softer, it does give a sense of movement a little bit, but I just think it needs to, particularly the top part of the body, maybe the legs you can get away with them being a little bit softer edges, giving you a sense of movement. But yeah, go a little bit darker on those. Beautiful sky. Perfect watercolour. The granulation, the shadows on that left-hand side. Look at that. Lovely. Excellent. What a Lyle. And Lynn. Nice bright scene. I like those shadows, those shadow marks on the left. Perspective is good. This figure here needs to be Oh, unless that's maybe a child. But I'm just thinking that figure from a perspective point of view, thinking about the heights of heads again. Perhaps it could be just a little bit higher, just a tiny bit. Good figures on the beach. Composition brilliant. That sky is fantastic. The water, yeah, nice horizon. The shapes of the rocks and the sandy areas on the beach, brilliant. The expressive brush marks for the foliage in the foreground. That green there, a bit of warmth in that green. Yeah, very nice. Well done, Lynn. Super painting. And did I miss someone out? No, Lynn, and then Magali. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Beautiful scene. Very nice indeed. I like it. Really nice. The composition is good. It's a nice bright scene. Perspective is nearly there. I think your fence here needs to be a little bit, the distance between the horizontal rails, a little bit wider, coming towards the nearer foreground. Could be a bit of a lighter post. We're almost, the value of that post and the green is very similar. So we need to make one light and the other one darker just to make them stand out a bit more. The sky is fantastic. Very good sky. The sea, brilliant. Love it. The cliffs, very nice granulation. Soft edges as well, works well. Nice bit of brightness there at the bottom of the cliffs. You haven't gone too dark with the shadows, that's all right. With the figures, figures are all right, actually. I just think those shadows, they need to be angled. So if we've got, and also try and connect your cast shadow with the shady side of that wall. We've got a bit of a line there, or rather we've got the sort of shadow of the hedge, I guess, but then we've got the actual shape of that shadow there. Do you see? So just try and merge them a little bit more. You could actually use a little bit of a damp brush and just gently tease it around. No, back to shadow direction. So as I pointed out before, so if we went with that one first of all, and then as we go up, we're going to be more horizontal, okay, as we go into the distance. Right, a bit of zoom back out again. Beautiful beach. Nice brush marks for the foliage in the foreground. Lovely scene. Well done, Magley. And Margaret, nice composition. You've brought the horizon down just to maybe a little bit lower than me, but it works well. I love that sky. These lighter little bits left unpainted. Very effective. And that little bit of sort of soft light coming from that. Maybe it could be a higher cloud. Very nice sky. I like from a composition point of view, this tree, which would be, yeah, you get a lot of trees like that on the North Cornish coast where it's very rugged and windswept, and you get these trees sort of growing in the arched in the sort of away from the wind direction, the predominant direction. So yeah, very, very in tune with the area. Good composition though. I love the fence. Maybe with the perspective, we could be a little bit wider between those horizontal rails. Nice figures, really good figures. Bit of light hitting their heads and their shoulders. Very good. Just be careful with maybe just a little bit too, that the white paint's not so fresh on that side, but good figures. Nice figures on the beach as well. The sea is, that's a lovely colour. That sort of turquoisey blue colour, brilliant. And then that beach, yeah. Slightly different approach to the beach, but you've still got the feeling of those layers of those kind of areas of that exposed slate rock, and that little bit coming out from just on the right hand side of that bank there. The cliff sort of goes down and then evens out to the same level as the beach. Yeah, very nice. Thank you, Margaret. And Marilyn. Very bold. Nice and bright. Good composition. Don't think the perspective on the left-hand side is there, in that we've got, maybe the lane goes up just a little bit too high there, Marilyn. Perhaps I think that the pathway should be ending there. And then we've got that with the perspective, we've got the lane coming out like that, a little bit like that. And then move those figures a little bit higher, all right? But everything else is okay there. I like the fence. The shadows, they're beautiful shadows, just a little bit too far on the left. Maybe if it was just a few millimeters, an inch or two over to the right, that would work better. Very good building and cliffs, the shape of the rocks coming down. Those figures are brilliant. Yeah, good job on the exposed rock and the sandy areas and the blue areas. Bit of foliage in the foreground, nice bit of texture on the pathway. Yeah, and good job with the sky. That transition, that tricky transition between the blue and the yellow, that turned out really well. But I do like that sea, fantastic. Yeah, good figures, just a little bit static. Try and get some movement in them. And just think about the height of those figures and the where that lane terminates at the end there. Thanks, Marilyn. And Mark. Nice composition. You've got the light on the building there and the light on the pathway. I just think there should be a little bit more light on the beach. It's a tiny bit overdone, overworked in that area there, Mark. I think there's nice little slithers of light there. They're okay. And that bit of light there. But yeah, so just a few more lighter areas. We've got the light, let me see, we've got the light there. We've got a bit of light there. So I think it would work better trying to extend those shapes a little bit further out. Just watch a little bit of overworking of the cliffs there. Try and get in some harder edges as well. So more light and harder edges. Nice brush marks on the left-hand side. They are beautiful. On the left-hand side. Good figures as well. Bit of movement in them. Excellent. Nice sky as well. You haven't gone for that yellow bit. Doesn't really need it. Nice pattern in that sky. Yeah, excellent sky. Well done, Mark. Thank you. And Mike. Nice composition. I love that sky. That's really well done. Perhaps here, a little bit of a gap there, but that can be cropped off, couldn't it? But good transition from that blue to that yellow ochre. So the composition good. Perspective, I think, has turned out really well. Yeah, that fence is brilliant. Figures on the left head, just those three figures there. Maybe there's just too much going on that left-hand side, almost to the point where you may not need those figures there. I reckon if they weren't there, they're not really sort of contributing a lot to the image. Nice beach, though. That beach is superb. The patchwork of the different materials there, the rocks, the seaweed, the sand, the rock pools. Perfect colours, perfect values. That colour of the sand, spot on. Perhaps this side of the building could be a little bit shadier, possibly, although you've got the shadows going that way. Maybe not. But yeah, just thinking the value of the building facing us could be just a little bit darker. Excellent sky though, fantastic, Mike, and the sea as well. Nice straight horizon. Min, I bet your painting is actually a bit brighter than this. This looks a little bit dark. Good composition. We want to try and keep the light on that left-hand side of the building. but good composition. Perspective, yeah, perspective, it looks good. Try and make those posts, I know it's an old fence, but try and make the post just a little bit more vertical, but good job on the perspective there. Figures are good as well. I think those figures they could do with, if you imagine just a little highlight, I'm doing it red, but if you imagine this was white, just a little bit of a highlight on those figures, tiny bit on that female figure there. Do you see what I mean? Just makes it, if you imagine that red was white, just a little bit of a highlight there. Good figures on the beach, lovely. The shapes on the beach works well. Try and connect those shapes a little bit more. And also you've got these lighter areas. Try and connect them a bit more. And also your brush looks quite dry in places. So big brush, plenty of water. That's a nice shape there. That's a nice shadow, that car shadow there coming away from the cliff. Yeah, with these figures, with the dark figures in the shadows, just where their heads are popping up, catching a light, just consider a tiny bit of, like you've got a bit of white paint there. I guess that's white paint there. But if you imagine that with a white paint on some of those figures, that would be the icing on top of the cake. Good sky, lovely sky. What I'm in? Nydia. Yeah, very nice. I love the blue there, and there's a lot of blue in the beach, which I think works well. That could be obviously the colour of the slate. We've got these three figures marching down towards us on the left-hand side. Could be just a little bit more to the right, maybe. Nice foliage, the hedgerow. That's beautiful. And that edge, fantastic. Just on that left-hand side there, continuing along this hedge that's protecting the house down to the rocks. Bit of waves lapping over the rocks in the distance. Yeah, those rocks are brilliant. Figures in the distance. Maybe we need a head on that figure there. But these two are brilliant, clambering over the rocks, marching towards us. Perspective is very good. Sky, very good. Well done, Nydia. Nice one. Randy, lovely sky. Those streaks coming down the sky, brilliant. Bit of a slope, I guess, on Randy's board. The composition is lovely. It's so fresh, this whole area. I like this globe, this oval shape here of a bush in the foreground. That's worked out really well. As you would find there, these very architectural clumps of shrubs that are clinging on for dear life on the cliffside. Yeah, very, very appropriate. The perspective is brilliant. The feeling of lots of walkers or ramblers. We've got, how many figures we got there? I must have at least 10 or so. Yeah, great figures coming down. Very fresh with the application of shadows. Nice shadows on those cliffs. Not too dark, but it's just the right value. Got that contrast there between the green and the shadow on the cliffs. Yeah, but I think the highlights for me, sky and that bush there, brilliant. Yeah, thanks, Randy. Next we have Ravi. Very bright scene. Again, I bet Ravi, your scene is a little bit brighter than this. Lovely composition. I like this pathway. You focus more on the pathway. Not sure the perspective. The perspective is nearly there. It just needs to be a little bit higher, I reckon, on these nearby posts, Ravi. But the placement of the figures just right. Movement. These shadows there on the left, they are really atmospheric. Got a lot of mood about them. Nice angle as well. You've done it once. They're fresh. Connecting the shadows with the object that's creating them. Nice placement of the building. Sky's a little bit messy in that you've got these, again, like several others, you've got that where things have dried. Maybe things have dried a little bit too quick, and you've got that kind of line there, and then a faint line there. And if it's yellow ochre, it's gone a little sort of bit of a browny colour. So maybe it's not so fresh on your palette. But on the whole, oh, well, the blue stuff above it, that's worked out really well. Love those streaks, those different bands of intensity of blue. The sea nearly there, needs to be a little bit more horizontal on that right-hand side. Beach is fantastic. That strong line down there, that line there, that line there, that line there. Well done, Ravi. Thank you. And Ravi B, Ravi N. Yeah, you've really pushed the values on this one, Ravi. I think that works really well. That darkness in there. So some people might say is a little bit too dark. I actually quite like it. And then that shows up the lights a lot more, those little horizontal slithers of light. That sky, brilliant. That is 100% perfect, that sky. Yeah, very good. Down to the yellow, that is perfectly laid down. Great figures, both up there on the pathway. Distant one, heads again. Heads all in line. There we go. And then down below, loads of figures down there. Nice marks depicting those areas of rock and pools. Bit of some waves lapping over the rocks there. Maybe the tide's coming in. Yeah, superb. Love that sky. Well done, Ravi. Robbie. It's a nice warm feeling to this. With the warmth of the sky at the bottom there. I like these. Maybe you've done a little bit of lifting out, possibly, in that sky just before it dried. I think that works really well from a point of view of adding a bit of extra interest in the sky and the angle of those lines as well. They're kind of replicating the other angles that we see in the scene. Perspective is good. Got a bit quite green on the pathway there. Maybe that could have been a little bit warmer, like the sort of beach colour, sort of sandy colour up there on the pathway. Good three figures. Consider a little bit of light on top of those figures just to make them stand out a bit more. Nice shadow shapes there. Could be the shadows, could be either a little bit cooler, a little bit warmer, rather than a green coloured shadow. But nice marks, nice dry brush marks, confidently done. Lovely shapes on the beach as well. Perhaps could be a little bit more solid with the colour on that cliff there, and a little bit darker on this, on the building, the wall facing us, just to make that left-hand side a bit brighter. But it's a nice warm feeling to it. I think it's emphasised by that sky there. Yeah, well done, Robbie. Thank you. And Rosella. Let's just zoom into this one. I don't know what size a lot of the attendees' paintings are. Generally, I would say they're probably A4 letter size, or I'm doing 15 by 11. I guess most people are that kind of size, or sketchbook, large sketchbook size. Right, beautiful scene, nice composition. Could have gone a bit darker with the shadows because you've got it's a similar value to the sea. So I would have, like that dark value there, that's the kind of darkness probably we want to get to deep down there on the left-hand side. So it's going to contrast more with the light of the bank catching the sun. Perspective is brilliant. Really good figures up there on the pathway. Nice shadow shapes and angles of those shadows. Just right. Texture on the pathway. Bit of splattering. Is that a bit of splattering? Maybe. Then the foliage down to the left-hand side. Perhaps it could be just a few more darks on the beach. Some of those patches of seaweed or the darker rocks. Just a little bit. Nice sky. You haven't done this sort of laying down a wash, laying down lots of horizontal lines. I bet you're a bit like me. You've sort of dabbed at it, and you get those interesting, just very subtle intensities of the colour, and maybe just little areas left unpainted as well. Yeah, sky's turned out well. Very bright at the horizon, which is all right. Makes the skyline show up a bit more. Yeah, very nice. Well done, Rosella. And did I miss somebody out then? No. Sandra, very bright scene. My eyes first of all go on the beach, and then the way that you've done this foreground foliage. I think that this sort of opaque paint, maybe gouache, doesn't matter, but the way that your brush marks there, that creates a very nice realistic grass, and also the way that just a little bit of the lighter blade to show up against the darker background. Good composition. Perspective, I think, is nearly there. Really nice figures. Very nice figures indeed. I'm not sure about the guys. The guys right, assuming they're walking towards us, the guys right there, but the female figure looks good. Dog there. Distant figures on the beach. That beach is lovely. There's so many different textures and shapes and colours going on there. In fact, that whole area there, Sandra, lovely. Good sky, good sea. Excellent, well done. And Sarah, let's look at this. Nice bright scene, very bold. Good composition. That sky is perfect. I actually love that blue. That is definitely a UK summer blue, that is. And that transition to the yellow, that's brilliant, Sarah. Very, very hard edges, nice, crisp, bold lines. These three figures are very good indeed. Well placed, lovely shadow shapes coming down towards us. The figures on the beach. Oh, there's a figure there running. Some footprints as well in the sand. They are excellent figures, that group of three down there. The shapes on the beach of the rocks and the seaweed and little rock pools. See the green seaweed, darker seaweed. The shapes going across there on the rocks. Perspective is brilliant. You've captured that little old, that sort of warped railings, those horizontal rails. Brilliant. That little sort of attention to detail really works. Nice shadows coming down from that. Good foliage in the nearby area as well. Beautiful. Thanks, Saro. And Susan. I like the style. It's very atmospheric. We push the building right back there on that left-hand side. We've got more of the water going over to the right and the beach coming down to us. A nice style to the way that you've done that beach. Not really, you've been very creative with the beach and all those different textures and materials going across the beach. Perspective, I think, is nearly there. Good job. Perhaps the figures could be a little bit larger, possibly. I don't know. What do you think? No, I think they're all right, actually. Nice shadows coming down. Texture on the lane there. And a bit of splattering as well. Nice brush marks for the blades of the grass. Nice sky. Bit of darkness there in the water. Leaving out some horizontals for the waves coming in. Yeah, nice. Right, Sylvie. Oh, this is different again. I think your photo is a little bit dark. I bet your painting is a lot brighter than this. Could be brighter with the pathway, but I like it. I like those soft shadows. Two figures are good. The placement of the building, brilliant. That sky is fantastic. The sea, excellent as well. I think you might have gone over the sea twice, and that works with the sort of lighter area there, working well. And then coming towards us, maybe just a little bit of some lighter waves coming in. I think you've got a bit more of a gradient on the beach, which is all right. Yes, I just think it might need, we got the lightness down there, but if we had a bit of light up here, Sylvia, I think that would work better. But that path is superb. The perspective, that perspective is brilliant. Very nice indeed. Lovely sky. That sky really is a wet sky. Lovely. That sort of lighter streak coming down at an angle there. certainly you feel the volume of the clouds as well in that one. And Vicente, very nice brush marks. The shape and repetition of these marks there, and then we've got it. You've gone a bit deeper with the shadow of the cliffs, but that kind of the repetition of shapes works really well. Nice composition. You've gone a bit higher, so we've got less sky. Works all right. The building could be a little bit darker on this side, just a tiny bit darker. Lovely sky, brilliant sea. Just tidy up that edge a little bit more. You've got a bit of a white top to the sea before it meets the sky. Just try and connect those two together. The beach, just the right value. Those figures are very expressive. Your figures are brilliant in this. Lovely figures, the two larger figures on the lane, and then these very loose figures down on the beach. Look at these brush marks. That one there. And then this one here, the jagged edge to it. Yeah, brilliant. Nice and bright. So that concludes that's the last one of the bunch of those people that submitted their paintings. Thanks very much indeed for those of you that attended that workshop of Constantine Bay in Cornwall, UK. Hopefully see all of you on the next workshop. Just a reminder again, go to my event website, crowdcast.io/@ the email symbol at Tim Wilmot, TIMWILMOT, or go to my website, timwilmot.com. There is actually two websites for me, timwilmot.com, timwilmotartist.com, and you'll see information about all the workshops up there and the other things I do. Thanks very much indeed. I'll be producing a normal tutorial video real soon, so stay tuned. And thanks very much for your support. Thank you. Bye-bye.